Hi, everybody. It's Brett Bell here from Grassroots Online for episode 25. We're a quarter of a way to 100. So there you go. It's kind of a bit of a milestone. With me, as always, is my partner on this endeavor, Mark Hardwick. Say hi, Mark.
Well, I don't get a big introduction today on number 25. That's okay.
You know what? I couldn't think of
lovely,
anything.
pleasant, whatever.
I'm
good.
sorry.
We're 25. This is amazing. Just a little bit over 6 months, and we've made it to 25. We're going strong. We got some great topics today.
Yeah, no, you know what? And it's been a lot of fun. I really look forward to these every week. So I'm glad we're doing it. So the first topic of conversation for this episode, number 25. Is there was a bit of a little bit of a brouhaha on Twitter. I'm going to do a screen share as I want to do between two folks over in the West in Calgary, between the Alberta VP of the Canadian Taxpayer Federation, Derek Fildebrandt, and the mayor, Naheed Nenshi. So what we've done is this time I actually went through and created a storyfy of all of the tweets. But what was basically happening was the two of them were fighting. It got a little bit of media coverage, as you can see. Actually, it got national coverage, where the two of them were fighting over a FOI request, a Freedom of Information request, regarding whether or not, I think that there was, I'm just trying to recall what it was, but basically whether or not that there was some expenses that, as a lawsuit, that whether or not that the city was paying for a lawsuit that Mayor Nenshi was, I guess, was being sued, and whether or not that the city was paying for it, whether he was paying for it by himself, which it ended up that it was actually, the mayor was actually paying for it out of his own pocket. So I think I'm going to switch it up a bit. Instead of throwing it, I'm just going to dig right into it. I think it's interesting from my point of view because I do like the fact that there are two fairly high-profile figures in the political circle, Mr. Fildebrandt and Mayor Nenshi. Both are known to use Twitter a fair bit. It's interesting. It's fairly rare to see two people in the political spectrum facing off against each other. So I actually really like the fact that that they're doing it there. It's, they're not sort of broadcasting their messages on Twitter, but then having a personal email exchange or things like that. I actually really appreciate the fact that they're willing to go head-to-head on Twitter. And this is nothing new for the mayor. The mayor's pretty open in his conversations and his communications on Twitter, so this is nothing particularly new. But I really, really like the fact that they're doing it. I thought it was a really interesting exchange, and we'll post it in the show notes so you can take a look at it. But both of them are really carping at each other, which is pretty interesting to see. So, what are your thoughts on it, Mark?
Yeah, I think it's good that they're having the conversation, but I don't know. To me, it seems like they're being a bit snarky to each other, and I mean, hey, I'm not one not to be snarky here.
I thought you'd appreciate that completely.
but I'm also, and maybe as I get older, I don't know, maybe I'm turning 40 this year, maybe things are changing, but as I get older, I look at these conversations and I'm like, yeah, okay, good job, boys. You're out in the public. You got the gloves off, and you're going at it a bit. But how much do you need to really go at it? And is this more about who's the biggest man? Is this what's it about? Who's going to have the last word? For me, I have
a feeling that's not what you're going to say.
No, it wasn't. But I did contain myself. So we'll say about who's the biggest man is, and everybody else can use their imagination. Who knows me and what I would say? But
not much imagination was needed. But anyway.
Well, that's the way I see it. I mean, it is good that they're talking about it, but it is about the biggest boy here. So.
But is it a bad thing? I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough. I concede your point. Maybe it was a little bit sort of everyone was getting their backs up and all that kind of thing. And to be honest with you, I don't think that. To be fair to you, to your point, I would probably suggest that neither parties came off looking particularly great on this one. Both of them looked a little bit snarky. That's the word I'm going to use. I was going to use another word, but in a PG podcast, I'll say it's snarky. But is it a bad thing for them to be out there? I mean, look, one of the things that we always try to tell people is be authentic, right? And they are being who they are. Maybe they're both. I don't know either gentleman particularly that well. Maybe, is it a bad thing for them to be, again, it's supposed to be having all of your warts and all, right? That's what we keep telling everybody, be human. So is it, is this a situation where we're just allowing them to be who they are?
Yeah, if that's who they are, then the mayor's angry. He's an angry man. I don't know if that's something you want to portray.
He was happy.
What I would say, yeah, he wasn't happy. but what I would say also, and he probably got defensive because it's a personal issue, right? And he is paying personally for the lawsuit he's going through, so it becomes personal, right? So this becomes more personal business and it's also mixed up on his job, so maybe he got a little bit touchy about it on Twitter. The one thing I would say that is a benefit to both these guys is they both got press coverage now, right? And this translates offline, off Twitter, to us actually talking about it now, and also people who maybe aren't on Twitter seeing this exchange of conversation that's happening through their, maybe reading online, or maybe, I don't know if this would have hit the papers, but if it did, they would have read it in the papers. So, they did get some attention, so that's good, and they are having conversations, as you said. They are doing what we're asking people to do, what we're asking politicians and people involved with politics to do, is have that conversation online. So whether the way they handled themselves was all right is a different story. But they are doing and having conversations online.
And kudos to the CTF. I mean, this is them holding politicians to account, whether or not that this particular FOI came up with anything. This is exactly what the donors are expecting. So, the fact that he's able to get it out there and get exposure for this type of situation, that the fact that they filed an FOI request to get this information, that's a really good point that you raised. So kudos to them that it's out there, and I don't think it necessarily it doesn't necessarily benefit the mayor, I guess, but definitely from a CTF point of view, if I was a donor and seeing there publicly that what they're doing on Twitter, I think that would be something I'd be supportive of. So.
Well, I think it does give the mayor a little bit more push because the stories about the city paying for this lawsuit, and that's what the Taxpayers Federation was saying or was looking into in the first place. And it's good that it clears it up, right? And he's able to clear it up to get the story. It says, yeah, hey, they said that I'm paying for it with my own money, not using taxpayers' dollars for a lawsuit. So I think it benefits him too.
Yeah, fair enough. Nope, absolutely. That's a really good point. So I think there's definitely an upside for people who are, again, I do notice often that politicians and candidates do not want to engage. They want to broadcast, and we're seeing this a lot in the provincial election here in Ontario, but just generally they don't want to engage. And this, I think ultimately, we can make some personality comments about them, whether they came off as snarky or anything like that. But I think ultimately, I think both of us have made good arguments for why this benefited both parties in directly engaging in Twitter.
Yeah, I agree. I wish more politicians and people involved in public life would do that.
Yeah, no kidding. Something that we continue to push for, but still haven't seen.
I know I do it.
Yeah, true. So when are you going to be a politician?
Maybe a little too much. Yeah, maybe it's not a good idea for me ever to be a politician. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the second topic. I thought this was an interesting one, and I wanted to throw it out there. So the Libertarian candidate here in the Ontario election, so as folks who are outside of Ontario know, if they watch us, I'm going to screenshot it here, or screen share it. We're having a provincial election here in Ontario, and one of the sort of Libertarian candidate, which is definitely a non-mainstream political party, got some coverage here because he is wooing voters on Tinder. So Tinder, for those folks who don't know, Tinder's to be honest with you, I don't have any experience with it myself, but from what I've read, Tinder is basically a dating app. Some might say it's a hookup app, but essentially it's an opportunity to find people in your local area that you're interested in. You swipe right or left to decide whether or not that you're interested in them or not, and then the app connects you to these people. So the Libertarian candidate has decided to go on Tinder to try to find a way to connect with voters, and I don't say that jokingly. Connect with voters. No, he was actually using this as a voter contact method. And again, I'll start off. Well, you know what? Well, let's shift it up. What about you, Mark? What do you think? I'll let you lead off on this one and let me know what your initial thoughts are.
Well, I don't have a Tinder account, but I was actually going to, for a little research, sign up for one. And I thought, no, that's a bad idea. I'll just read the
You're
article.
crazy.
I know. And I'm like, yeah, no, not a good idea. I'm not going to check it. Swipe right. No, I don't think so.
All for research. We're both married. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a good idea. Even checking out that Snapchat once upon a time was not a good idea for one of those. We were doing a post, or we were doing a podcast on Snapchat or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I looked at it, checked it out, and deleted it. So, anyways, back on the Tinder. I don't know. Sure, if he wants to get on there, and maybe he's got a few people. I think he got about 50 people on there checking out his profile. I don't know. Whatever. It's I know it's not a winning strategy, but it definitely is good to get him in a main newspaper, a big provincial newspaper, right? He's in the Toronto Star, so you got some attention out of it, and maybe he's gonna hook up with some voters and they'll vote for him, right? I don't know, and not hook up in the meaning of the Tinder site, but he'll hook up with them for a coffee or a beer or something like that, or maybe some wrestling. I think some dude wanted to wrestle with him or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was but the worst part would be if he actually hooked up with them and then they didn't vote for him.
Yeah. Well, maybe they just want someone to buy beers for them or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I guess. Well, from my point of view. So there's two things. One is I think the underlying theme, and it might be tough to pull this out. Some might. Oh, there you go, another. Anyway. What I meant to say was in terms of this, I think one of the lessons to take away from this, there's no double entendre there. The one lesson to take away from this is that innovation. I think innovation is always important. Whether or not this is a good way to do it, but the question is, you don't really know until you try, right? And I give him a win on this one for a couple of reasons. One, as you mentioned, he got an article in the we're talking about it now. He got an article in the Toronto Star, so that helps with his profile. When you're in a situation like the Libertarian Party where they really have no budget, no infrastructure, no ads, no anything like that, any kind of exposure is good. So pushing the envelope and getting an earned media story out of that, good for him. Number two is he might not necessarily be wrong. Like I don't know if again why people are coming there to be on the app. But that being said, I think that it's interesting that he's going kind of where the fish are, which is what we often tell people to do, right? So we say, look, what he says, look, my core supporter is young and many times disengaged. So he's not going to a political place. He's not going to the typical the Facebooks and all that kind of stuff. He's going somewhere where people are probably not likely to be looking for them there. So again, is it a good use of his time? I wouldn't necessarily, probably not. But I mean, he directly engaged with people. He said people were asking him where to vote and all that kind of stuff. So he was actually making voter contact. So I could definitely see an upside, but again, would I recommend that candidates find their way onto Tinder on a regular basis? No, but there's definitely an upside to it. I mean, I think again, forget that it's Tinder. Taking out the basic lessons of using tech for this kind of stuff, he's actually following a lot of the rules or pieces of advice that we've actually offered on our content and on this podcast. So.
Yeah, minus the online dating scene. But as you said, like
young and single, right? Like
Well, you know what? You got to in this day and age in politics, every vote counts. And to be honest, I don't think he has a chance in winning.
He doesn't have a chance,
but on the side, he's trying new things, so I like that. He's trying it out to see if it works. I mean, how long does it really take to set up a Tinder account? I don't know because I don't have one, but whatever.
I like how we're both making strides to make sure we don't know anything about it.
Disclaimer: I have never been to that site in my life, and I never will go there. So even not to swipe right or whatever it is. Is it swipe right? Is it swipe right? The article said. I think it's swipe right.
I was gonna say, what are you asking me for? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm sure to find the article. Swipe right, swipe right, swipe
anyway,
left.
no, but I mean, one way to say you're interested, the other way to say you're not. I mean, you know, and again, he did manage to speak to local voters, and
that's what I mean. I think it's interesting that he's able to get there and that find out those questions that people have about where do I vote? Like that's really important part of the society we live in is knowing where you vote. Like I can't believe that actually some of the questions that I've seen questions like that in this election, like from adults even, not even from just younger folks, but like. I mean, he's hit the nail on the head going there where the young folks are and letting them know, yeah, you can go vote. It's important whether he wins or not that young folks, and I'm still young. I mean, 40 is still young, kind of. Well, I'm not 48.
I'm 39.
I'm not 48. You're the old man. I'm still 39.
Yeah,
but it is important for young folks to get out and vote. So I think it's important, and I think he realizes that. And I think that he took a good step in going there and doing that.
Although the one point I do have to make is somebody who's comes from a political organizational background, he probably could have spent that same time going to a condo downtown and knocking on doors and actually hitting way more voters.
True.
Than actually do. So to be fair, maybe you might want to actually go and canvass is what I would say. But from a technology point of view, hey, interesting experiment and good for him. So there you go.
I wonder if he's single or if he's in a relationship, because that might be a.
Yeah, I think he's. Well, it doesn't say whether or not he's. But it does say he's 24. So I'm guessing that he's probably on the young. And looking at the picture, he looks pretty young. So I'm guessing that he's probably single. But he could explain that to his significant other. He can, as a campaign tactic, baby. That's all it was, man. That's all it was. Anyway, all right. On that note, we're gonna wrap it up for episode 25. Next week, the election is going to be concluded on this Thursday. So next week, we're actually going to be spending our RootsCast talking about the Ontario election and going through sort of a overview of what we felt was good and bad on the social media side, on the digital side for all campaigns. So I hope you join us for that. And we're looking forward to having that discussion. But in the meantime, hope you have a great week, and thanks again for watching.
Have a good day, folks.